Now, in college, I had tested well, and I thought it was a fluke. And when I went to my advisor, he thought it was hilarious that I had tested so well. And so instead of discouraging, or instead of telling me, I don't think that that's accurate, he just said, well, you're 26, so you know you're non-traditional. So he would say things like that to try to discourage me from moving forward in education.
I'm Nathaniel Bozarth, and this is Wide Ruled, Brain Roots podcast on the past, present, and future of education in America. On today's episode, join me on a phone call with Lashauna Guy as she traces her educational journey all the way back to Paducah, Kentucky, to present day where she lives in Jefferson City, Missouri. It starts that Lashauna had a physical ailment that made it difficult for her to stand up straight. Doctors had a hard time diagnosing the problem, and teachers couldn't understand what was going on. Later, it turned out it was simply a pinched nerve in her abdomen. And one more thing. Lashauna's black. I wouldn't mention this except, unfortunately, the way she is treated by white educators and administrators throughout this story hinges upon this single characteristic and their monolithic interpretations thereof.
I had 2 psychological evaluations because they decided, well, we can't find anything wrong with her. There's something mentally wrong with her. There's nothing physically, so something that's in her head. They even started to say, like, my mom was seeking attention by making me think that I was sick so that she could get attention. So the third time they did a psychological evaluation, the first 2 were completely normal, but then they decided to send me, I think, to Louisville. They did a third one. That one, they added on an IQ test.
Okay, so what is the IQ test? It turns out the IQ test we use today is a held-over relic from just after World War I. It stems from intelligence tests used to efficiently sort draftees into military occupations. Progressive educators, in the same way, in the first 2 decades of the 20th century, believed students should be sorted into educational paths, preparing them for the careers they would most likely fall into someday. So, academics adapted the military intelligence test for their purposes after World War I, thinking the IQ test would lend the same efficiency of the military to the education system, neatly sorting students into curricula suited to their level of intelligence. Now, purveyors of the IQ test believed that intelligence was fixed and could not be improved upon through schooling. So unfortunately, levels of intelligence as found by the IQ test tended to run quite strictly along class and ethnic divisions, meaning that upper-class Anglo-Saxon kids were more likely to be put into high school courses that prepared them to be doctors and lawyers, while African-American and Eastern European kids were more likely put into coursework preparing them to work in the field or at the local factory. Now, I'm not saying that the IQ test is undeniably evil. I am saying that the motives of its original proponents were questionable, and I wonder whether motives are much better now. Back to Lashauna's story, right after the test results of her IQ test came in.
And I took the test. I got back to Kentucky, or Paducah, and I was in my elementary school, and the school officials, principal, and counselors and all that, they had a meeting with my mother. They wanted her to come in for a scheduled meeting, and they wanted me there. So we're in the office, and they're going to give my mother the results of this test. And they tell her in front of me that I had the lowest IQ of anybody that ever tested. And I remember in that moment, I couldn't hear. I heard the talking, but it sounded like...
She says it was like being underwater, where you can recognize that there's a voice somewhere above the surface of the water, but it's muffled and remote.
So I was aware that they were talking, but I couldn't make out what they were saying over my own inner voice. And that inner voice was saying to me, "You have just embarrassed your mother. You're an idiot. Do you hear what they're saying? They're saying that you're dumb and you have embarrassed your mom. Your poor mom has a dumb kid. And my mother is sitting right next to me and she's saying, no, that's not true. That's never been true of Shauna. You will not put her in special classes because she doesn't need them. The only thing I can really hear besides my mom saying, oh no, is you're an idiot. You know what this means for the rest of your life? And so from that point on, I went through my life thinking I was an idiot and being ashamed of that and being very embarrassed by it. And so it was a secret of mine.
So because of that moment and the relentlessness of the inner voice birthed out of it, Lashauna retreated into herself. She began to feel uncomfortable connecting with other kids because they might say, wow, you're really smart. Then she would get this guilty conviction that she had somehow deceived them, and that was wrong.
So that took a toll of on my self-esteem, and I didn't want to be in a relationship with people because I didn't want to be deceiving them and then have them discover my deep dark secret, which was that I was really an idiot. Well, by the time I was in 7th grade, we moved to Missouri. We moved to Columbia, Missouri. We get there on our first day of classes. We're in the middle of the school year, and this particular school system, you have 7 classes, and you're able to pick 2 classes of special interest, that you would like to take. Well, the only classes they had left by this point were communications and theater. Well, I was extremely shy and quiet because I'm trying to hide a secret. And I'm not going to get up in front of people and talk like I was painfully shy and afraid of doing that. So no, I'm not doing that. Well, now you're telling me that I have to choose 2 classes, but these are the only 2 left to choose from. So I'm stuck in communications and theater. Well, I take the classes. Long story short, I completely fall in love with communications and theater. And I also am making straight A's. Without thinking, without any effort, I am making straight A's. I still thought, there's no way. It's the way that they have set things up. It's the way that they grade things. It's their grading scale that has allowed me to be able to get such good grades. And they don't know that if they just leave me to do it on my own, I'm a complete idiot and I'll never be able to succeed. It's got nothing to do with my ability because I can't do it.
Later on, I found out that Lashauna had undiagnosed ADD all through her childhood. So that means that not only was she getting straight A's in spite of her supposedly breathtakingly low IQ, but also in spite of attention deficit disorder. She said she would look out the window and daydream, taking a furlough in Disneyland or maybe the Bahamas, but then after school at home, she would reteach herself every lesson in its entirety. She went all through high school this way, graduating without a cinch.
I never thought that I would go to college. I wanted to, but I didn't think seriously about doing anything like that because you're not going to succeed. You're an idiot. The lowest IQ these people have ever seen. What are you going to do at college? So even though you would want to, that's not within your reach. It's not realistic for someone like you. So I didn't. I think I was 23 when I decided, okay, my mom had convinced me. I went and took the test and the placement exams that they have you take, I guess, when you've been away for a while. And they told me, they scored them, and they said, you have scored the highest you could score in every area of this test. And I thought, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. There's no way I scored the highest you could score in every area. Nope. That is either the testing standards are too low, it is because I love to read, and I've read a lot between 18 and 23, and so I was able to catch up enough to high school status there was all kinds of excuses I made why I did not, or why I scored as high as you could score in all this areas. So I said, I need to take it again.
So imagine taking the ACT 3 times in a row and acing it. You put yourself through a lengthy, grueling mental exam and get 3 36s. But then, it still seems like some fluke. You don't tell anyone close to you because it feels embarrassing, and apparently no one there at the college is paying enough attention to affirm you. So, she just walks away and forgets about it. 3 years go by.
Well, 26, I am in Illinois, Peoria, Illinois, and my mother has managed to put herself through 4 years of college. My sister is in her 3rd year of college, my youngest sister, and I think, well, maybe I could try. Maybe I could do it. So I'll just go to community college and I will take the placement test again and see what they say. So I do that, and all I'm doing in my mind is just seeing what the test has to say about my intelligence now. No serious thought to, you're going to go to college. You're just saying what the test has to say about your intelligence.
So, but now life has happened. Lashauna was married, she had a kid, then she got divorced. She won custody of her daughter, and so for moral support, Mom and her son, along with her niece and nephew, who her mom is also taking care of, come along and wait with bated breath while Lashauna takes the test.
I take the test, and I come out, and by this time it's on the computer, the testing is. I come out, and they already have the scores. And everyone is, when I walk out of the room into the main office, the front desk, everybody's moving quick. Everybody's on this one case, and they're just shuffling paper here, there, and everywhere, setting up appointments on this computer, setting up another set of appointments on that computer. And I'm like, okay, so what do I do next? And she's like, hold on, we're getting your stuff together. And I'm like, what stuff? Because I just took a test. Well, we have the results. We're setting up all your appointments. Appointments for what? So I'm looking at my mom. And I'm like, appointments for what? And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, I only took the placement test. And she's like, yeah, honey, I know. And so another lady comes from behind her with these printouts, and she says, this is so exciting. You scored the highest you could score in every area except math. Now, math, you were average. But every other area, you scored the highest you could score. So what classes do you want to take? What's going to be your major? You need to fill this paper out and state that to us. You need to. And I'm like, classes, major, for what? I can't go to school. And she said, yes. You can start school this summer or next semester. But it's not too late to enroll in summer classes. So what is going to be your major? Have you thought about it? I think you should go into teaching. It would be great to have someone as smart as you to be a teacher. And I was like, I can't teach anybody anything. I'm dumb. This is what I'm saying to myself at 26. I'm an idiot. I can't teach anybody anything. My mom looks at me and she's like, you need to register for classes. Even if you're not going to declare a major, just do it, Shauna. You are smart. And I remember how proud she looked and how validated she looked. But the look of validation on her face when these ladies are telling me, "Gee, I told you," was a look on her face. The first time someone told me something about my intelligence, I felt, oh my God, you've just embarrassed her and disappointed her. Now I felt like, oh, good, I made her proud. Like I fixed that moment in time with this moment. Even though in my heart of hearts I was still like, you're still a dummy, but you fixed that for your mom. That's good. That is what I thought. And so I asked to take the test again. And they said, are you crazy? You don't need to take these tests again.
Still, she feels that nagging feeling that this was a fluke. It's too good to be true. Even in the face of test administrators who affirmed her and believed her to be brilliant, she took the test 2 more times. Just like the last time she was on a college campus, she got the same results, twice more.
And so I said, okay, I'll sign up for classes. I signed up for classes. My white advisor, my name had preceded me, obviously, because he was excited to meet me. But it was I want to see the circus clown excitement. It wasn't like, oh, I'm excited to meet a real viable person. I'm excited to meet this oddity. He said, okay, well, come on back. So I go back, and he says, well, I find it hilarious. And, I mean, he just laughed from the pit of his stomach. And I thought, what's funny? I'm lost. And he says, I find it so hilarious that you managed to score as high as you could score in all these other areas. Ha, 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 ha. But you scored just average in math. Ha, ha, ha. How did you manage that? Ha, how do you're average in math? Like, what happened to cause that? Like, what didn't you do? Ha, 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 ha. And I thought, here I am feeling like I don't deserve those scores anyway. And you're reiterating that. You're telling me you're too dumb. So I was like, he's exactly right. I'm an idiot. And you can see through those test scores.
Just a few moments before, it had seemed like finally she'd be free of administrative degradation in this euphoric place. Then, this guy comes along. He continues speaking.
You understand the probability of success that you have coming back to school at this age with, under your circumstances, a child, divorce, a full-time job? There was nothing I could say. All I could say at that point, all I could do at that point was muster up what little bit of dignity and strength I had and say to him, I will do it.
And with that confession, this terrible white male academic advisor proceeds to parade black Lashauna around the administration building.
This is the girl that I was telling you about that scored highest you could score on all the other sections of the test except for math. And every time he got to that, he chuckled. And they would go, oh, my goodness, hi, nice to meet you. We've heard a lot about you. And I'm like, oh, no. Then they go to the next person, and it's the same.
He introduces her to people all over this office. But none of them are the people you'd expect her to meet as a high-achieving student. Nearly every faculty member she meets is black and whose duty is some aspect of assistance to at-risk or underachieving students.
That wasn't like he was taking me to whoever was over the math department to say, she scored out high in all these other areas, but maybe we could work with math since that's average. There's no way we can't bring that up. And who do we have here? Who could she become? That wasn't what he was doing. It was, look at this. Even after I had scored, average is not bad. Average is not bad. But even after I had scored the highest you could score in all these other areas, he only focused on where the lack was. And based on that, coupled with the fact that I was an African-American single mother, I was not going to be successful.
After the fanfare, Lashauna never sees him again. He won't respond to emails or calls. He's always conveniently out or busy. So she gets a new counselor, and it works out okay.
And it was going through those 2 years. Teacher said, no, I don't think you should give up in this math class because you're way more than capable of doing it. This is anxiety that is causing you to feel like you have a problem. Your grade is perfect. It was those kinds of interactions with people, validation, that made me get to this point at 33 and say, am I smart? I might be a little smart, but not as smart as they think, but I can do it. So to go from a child to, for it to take me, 25 years for me to say, like, I might be smart, is heartbreaking when I think about the possibility of that coming out of my daughter's mouth. It really will take her to 33 to say, Mom, I might be smart, when I'm teaching her now that she's smart so that she could accomplish so much more and be so much further. The thought that she may say to me at 33, I think I might be smart, Mom, but not as smart as they think, but at least I'm capable of trying it. Because that was a seed that was planted in my little head, that although there have been opportunities for it to be plucked, and it has been, it's been pulled at, that weed has been pulled at multiple times, but it has taken so long for me to even be able to see where it's giving. The roots are still in the ground. Obviously, having the lowest IQ, that was not accurate. Obviously, that was not accurate.
I told Lashauna I was sorry, that she's not dumb. I've had the opportunity to see Lashauna in action as a mentor. I've worked with her at conferences, and she's eloquent and incredibly impactful. You'd have to be an idiot to think she's dumb. A little more on the IQ test. The original purveyors of the IQ test in the early 20th century were often proponents of eugenics, that peculiar belief that certain races are born with superior capacity for intellect and goodness, while others are inherently inferior. The IQ test tended to confirm eugenicists' notions of Anglo-Saxon superiority. Before eugenics was wholesale rejected for its overt racism, Nazism would sprout from its fear-mongering ugliness. I don't know about you, but I'm not a big fan of a test that came from such a nefarious origin. Lashauna told me that the school system today continues to be racist and teaches preeminently white cultural values. We'll visit this more in future episodes. She works very hard to breathe love and encouragement into her daughter in spite of the negative and discriminatory experiences that her daughter will have in school. She goes over her daughter's homework with her daily so that when she visits with teachers, she knows whether teachers are telling her the truth about her daughter's performance or not. She demands that they maintain high expectations for her daughter. And Lashauna adamantly admonishes other black parents to be involved with their children and their children's education in the same way. I'm Nathaniel Bozarth, and this has been Wide Ruled, Brain Roots podcast on the past and present of equality in education. Wide Ruled is produced by myself alongside master cinematographer and avid listener Christopher Cook. To view additional notes and resources from today's episode, you can visit our website at brainroot.tv/Wide Ruled Podcast. If you feel this was an important story to tell, please rate us on iTunes and share this episode. Thanks for listening.